All right, this is Unit 3, Notes number 17, telling the difference between linear, exponential, and quadratic. You have already done linear and exponential. Quadratic is the new one. So first of all, we've got our graphs. A line can go up. That's a positive slope. Go down would be a negative slope. It can go this way and this way as well. And when you look at the table of a line, you should have a pattern on both sides. Otherwise, it's not linear. So this side's going by 1, this side's going by 1. So technically our slope is 1/1. But if it was something like 2 on this side and 3 is on this side, then your slope would be 2/3. So it's the change in y over the change in x. So y goes on top, x goes on bottom. The difference, of course. And then our y-intercept is across from the 0, so we see 0, and so that means our y-intercept is 3. So this line up here goes through 3. So you can write it y equals mx plus b, or m was 1. We don't necessarily need to put that there. It could just be y equals x plus 3. All right. Exponential. So our equation for exponential that we've talked about is y equals a times b to the x, which is this. The h just represents it being up or down. So you can see that this is not a traditional exponential. It's down and over a little bit as well. So that's what this is about, and we'll learn that more in transformations. So you can have exponential growth and exponential decay. For that exponential we've talked about already. This worksheet was totally wrong, so I kind of had to adjust it a little bit. So on this side, they're going by ones, which is good. And then you have to ask yourself, what are we multiplying by on the other side? So 32 to 16 to 8 to 4 to 2. So we're dividing by 2 each time. So exponential always has to be multiplication. So it's actually multiplying by a half. If it was dividing by 3, you'd be multiplying by 1/3. So it's whatever number you're dividing by, it's times 1 over that number. Okay, and then our y-intercept again is across from the 0, so that's going to be 8. And you can see in the graph too, it goes through 8. So write it y equals our y-intercepts first. So 8 times the thing we're multiplying by, 1/2 to the x power. So the main difference between linear and exponential is linear is just no exponent, and exponential has an exponent of x, always an exponent of x. Okay, and then quadratics are new ones. So the graph of a quadratic is called a parabola. So this is your parabola. This would be a positive parabola. And you can tell by this a value. If that's positive, it's positive. If the parabola goes the other way, then this a will be a negative number. A, B, and C are numbers. We've talked about this already. The table is a little different here. So first of all, this x side has to go by a pattern. Again, all 3 of these have to go by a pattern on the x side. But on the y side, it's a little different. So if you were to go and figure out the differences, these would be your what's called the first difference. It's the same thing you did over here when you did linear, but with linear, they're all the same. With quadratic, they are not the same. So your second thing is to check to see if it's multiplying, because if it's multiplying, then it's exponential. So 12 to 2 to -4. Well, this is dividing by 6, but from here to here is not dividing by 6. So it's not linear, it's not exponential. So the next step is take the second difference. And the second difference is the difference between our first differences. So again, how did we get our first differences? We just looked and saw 12 to 2 is -10, and 2 to -4 is -6. So that's how you got your first difference. So the second difference is looking at these ones. So -10 to -6 is adding 4. -6 to -2 is adding 4. -2 to +2 is adding 4. This number right here, the second difference, has to be the same for it to be quadratic. So if these are the same, then you know it's going to be a quadratic. If these are different, then it's neither. It's not linear, it's not exponential, it's not quadratic. It would be considered neither, or none, whatever you want to say. Okay, so when you are trying to tell the difference between these, remember linear is 1, it's a line, and 2, it doesn't have any exponent. Quadratic has an exponent of 2. That's how you know it's going to be a parabola. And then exponential has an exponent of x. And then our tables, these have to have patterns. Our exponential has to have a pattern on this side and then has to be multiplying by the same number on this side. And then for the table for quadratic is this goes by a pattern on this side. And then after you take the first difference, if you notice they're not the same and you're not multiplying by a number, then you'll take the second difference and the second difference has to be the same. Then you know it's quadratic.